Hey there, everybody. John from Beards, Kentucky here. So we're going to talk about Wilco's latest album, Cruel Country. I am have been for a long time a big Wilco fan. Got into them around 2002, right after Yankee Hotel Foxtrot came out, and really loved that album. Went back, really loved Summer Teeth, Being There, and they've just been one of those bands I've followed for a long time. Been to a lot of their shows over the years, and just really appreciate the work that Jeff Tweedy and his band have put forward over the years. Um, so when it brings us to this album, I have been, a little bit like my interest in Wilco has been somewhat waning over the last several album cycles. I did really come to appreciate both Star Wars and Schmilko after spending some time with them. Their last one, Ode to Joy, I've only recently started to really give it some listens. So anyway, when I heard about Cruel Country, when I kind of heard this idea that it was going to be a return to, the alt country sound, I was pretty excited. Like many of you, I was probably pretty excited. I was like, all right, this is great. This is cool. Like it'll be great to see Wilco go back to that sound when they've been exploring. They never got really far away from it, but they've been exploring some other terrain, if you will, over, the last several album cycles for sure. So I was pretty excited to just hear what they would come up with here. I was excited to hear that this was going to be the first time they were in the studio together as a band, in several albums, because I felt like I'm not sure that with this great band that Jeff Tweedy has put together really since the post A Ghost Is Born era, I'm not really ever sure that they've kind of maximized their potential on a record so far, in an actual album. Some of you may disagree with me. Feel free to hit that in the comments below. But that's just kind of where I've landed. So I was very excited to hear about this Cruel Country concept, on a number of levels, and excited to hear them return to the alt country sound. Um, so after having listened to it for 3 or 4 times now, really giving it another good listen in the last 24 hours, very close listen in the last 24 hours, I kind of think that there's two albums here. I think the first half of this record should be titled Cruel, and the second half should be titled Country. I don't know if that was kind of the joke that Jeff Tweedy intended. I doubt it, but that's my take on it. I really found myself underwhelmed by the first half of this record, and it's a 21 song record, right? That was another thing that got me excited. Was like, oh man, it's 21 songs. Like they must be really inspired, doing some great work. And I just have to say, like those first 10 tracks, I mean, they're not bad, but they didn't feel vital to me. They didn't feel like they had a lot of life. Certainly didn't feel like they were doing a lot instrumentally, musically, any of those things. Wasn't what I was really hoping for when I heard the concept for this record. However, the second half, I think you take the second half essentially, like, basically maybe from tracks, track 10, or maybe starting with 9 through the end, maybe cut out 1 or 2 songs there, and I think you have a solid like 10 or 11 song record right here. So I'm thinking to myself, there seems to be a decent amount of filler on this record, but the second half is actually pretty darn good. Some of my favorite tracks, "Birds Without a Tail," "Base of My Skull." That's where I really started to be like, okay, this is kind of cool. I love how on a few of these tracks on the second half of the record, they really do more with the instrumental breakdowns. They there's a lot more guitar work going on, kind of that intricate noodly guitar work that I'm a huge fan of. Thinking of like, Impossible Germany or something like that, or just some of the live recordings where, you've just got the band jamming out on all these, songs and just really doing great work. Tired of Taking It Out on You. Has great like AM soft rock kind of vibe. Just like kind of like, just a nice little jam, nice little tune, very catchy. And just kind of Saturday morning chill song, right? Many Worlds. I love the instrumental breakdown on that one. It's got like kind of that mountain jam vibe, and I think that's where I landed on this. I was like, I would have loved if they'd shortened the number of songs and expanded some of these songs to have more of that mountain jam kind of vibe. I got to thinking to myself, um, like that kind of classic Allman Brothers sound. It would have been great to hear Wilco do a lot more of that on this record, and kind of they're looking back at the alt country sound and expanding into that kind of territory. Because back in when they made Being There, and even AM, their first record, they didn't really have the instrumental firepower. Especially they didn't have Nels Cline, right? They didn't really have the instrumental firepower to pull off some of those sorts of things, but now they do, and it would have been really cool to hear a good bit more of that and just have this be like a really expansive, jammy country album, alt country album. But just don't quite get there. They get close on a couple of tracks, but I wish they would have done more of it. I also really liked Heart's Hard to Find, Falling Apart Right Now, and A Lifetime to Find. So, I think in the end, I would have just appreciated if this album had been, a good bit shorter in terms of tracks, but maybe a little longer for those tracks. I think that would have been a pretty interesting concept. And I will say, though, that, this is after just a few listens on my part. Wilco's records have a tendency to grow on me. I wasn't, really a big fan of Sky Blue Sky or A Ghost Is Born when they first came out, but I came to appreciate them more and more. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll come back to this in a few months or a year and do another review and kind of go a little deeper. I detect from just my few listens so far that the lyrical work here is pretty solid, and I find Jeff to be a pretty interesting lyricist. So I'm going to keep an open mind on this one. But ultimately, I don't know. For right now, it doesn't feel like one that I would just like rank up there with the best of Wilco at this point. So anyway, that's my take. That's my initial take on this one, you guys. Please do hit that like button. Please subscribe to this channel, Beards of Kentucky. We're going to be putting out a lot more content of this nature going forward. And hey, let me know what you think of this record in the comments below. If you really dug it, let me know why. If you think I'm way off base, tell me why in the comments. And, I'm just looking forward to having a good discussion about this record with you guys. So thanks a lot for watching, and I will talk at you next time.